By the way, 4-0 in the Let's Go era. Huh?
I continue to be amazed by Jimmy Butler's story. The fact that yesterday at Madison Square Garden, he had a good game, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. They won the game. He rolled an ankle. But how a guy like David, can you think of another athlete who has changed the narrative about himself without winning a title after the age of 30? Like, this is crazy. And I point out Jimmy Butler's game yesterday, where we're saying it wasn't a great Jimmy Butler game. It was just good enough to beat the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, Game 1, Eastern Conference semifinals. But I can't think of another athlete who has changed the narrative, because the things that were being said about Jimmy Butler before 2 or 3 seasons, before the bubble, essentially, were not good things. No one viewed him the way we view him now, as clutch in the playoffs, a guy who's going to make it to the Basketball Hall of Fame, a guy who might get his jersey retired by the Miami Heat. But that's what Jimmy Butler has done. And to me, it's an amazing story. I'm not certain there's a comparison anywhere in the world, anywhere in sports.
In the whole world.
David, he hasn't won a title. He made it to the finals in a bubble.
You realize that outside of this echo chamber, that the people who care about what Jimmy Butler's done, they're appreciative of the 56-point game. But it's not as though he has become either a better teammate, a better clubhouse guy, or has led his team to anything of significance other than beating the number 1 seed, the Milwaukee Bucks, without Giannis for the first couple games. So I just take umbrage with all of a sudden this guy is the guy.
His numbers clearly go up the last 4. It's not like it's just this isolated playoff. It's the last 4 playoffs. His numbers all go up across the board. And we're just trying – I think he's just saying, like, what are other examples of a guy just totally flipping a switch? And it hasn't led to a title yet, but I think people around the league are at least noticing this guy's different in the playoffs.
Well, and when you talk about changing narratives, like after the Minnesota Timberwolves practice, that's basically the moment, right? Because that got him to Philadelphia, and everybody really appreciated what he brought to Philadelphia, and then Philadelphia didn't appreciate it enough, and he ends up in Miami. And it's just this funny dynamic to watch a guy who everybody basically viewed as a number 2, maybe a number 3 offensive option on a good team.
There's no way he could be a number 1, right? And
look at what was said when he got here.
Yes.
He's
and he was
still
a jerk.
viewed that way.
I don't think he is.
He is.
I think he's viewed differently because of the on-court play. I don't think people are sitting around anymore saying Jimmy's a bad teammate. I think they're looking at Jimmy on the court and saying Jimmy's a damn good teammate. I wish he was my teammate.
It just feels like he's not the number 1 best player on a championship team, right? He's the number 2 best player on a championship team for sure.
That's what Whitty said about Giannis.
A good player
He's a fool.
who does well in the playoffs, it definitely increases your Q rating, but it doesn't change how the clubhouse views you. You don't become popular. Just because you're bad in the clubhouse and play well on the field, they respect what you do on the field. You know, Max respects what Jimmy does on the court, no doubt about it, but it doesn't change the narrative around Jimmy Butler. It just doesn't work that way.
When you start winning your team and your teammates' games, and you're the reason, and you're the only reason, you don't think that changes how your teammates feel about you?
I've seen
You're
it.
doing something
I've watched
for
it up
them.
close, and the answer is no. It's great. They're happy they're winning. It doesn't change their view of Jimmy or the front office's view of Jimmy. The fact that Pat Riley wants to retire his number, is it you who want to retire his number or Pat?
I just think that he's trending towards having his jersey retired by the Heat, and I'm not certain he doesn't deserve it. I mean, just because of the on-court play. The stuff he has done in this playoff alone, forget about the bubble, and forget about last year, where they were a shot away from making it to the NBA Finals. Like, he took them to a Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals just a year ago. I think the run that he's been on the last 3 seasons, the last 3 postseasons, will probably end up and result in him having his jersey retired by the Heat. That's incredible. 3 years ago, he was a jerk.
He's not even a top 5 all-time Heat player.
But if we're just talking about this series, let's just put it to this series. Are you arguing with the fact that anybody would say that he's the best player in this series by far?
Over Giannis?
No, this series right now.
Against the Knicks?
Yes.
He is the best player in this series, which is an indictment of the players on the Knicks.
It's no question that he's going to have his jersey retired. They retired Tim Hardaway's jersey. Tim Hardaway didn't have championships. He didn't win rings here.
I took it seriously, retiring numbers. We didn't do any retired. The Marlins.
You didn't keep anybody around long enough to retire.
Numbers.
We
Yeah.
unretired numbers.
Right.
Dead people.
Yeah,
Which
you
was
didn't keep
terrible.
anybody around enough.
I did not do that. I was vehemently against it, and I got my head got stepped on by Logan Morrison. Literally stepped on.
Yeah, but you didn't keep anybody around long enough to make that argument. Look at the
actually
Marlins.
not accurate. How long has Jimmy Butler been a Heat?
Jimmy
What's the total
Butler's
number?
been
4 years?
a
Fourth
Heat
season.
player for 4
4
years.
Yeah.
Can I name for you the Marlins who've been on the team? Were on the team for 4
Would
years?
you retire Miguel Cabrera's number?
No.
He
And
won a
he's the
World
best
Series.
player. Yes, he did.
He
and
did.
he played 3, 4,
He was a
5,
big part of
6.
it.
He was
Yeah.
there as long as Jimmy Butler.
He's
by
the best
way.
Marlin ever.
Miguel Cabrera is the best. He's a Hall of Famer, likely the best Marlin ever.
I think there are 3 Marlins that I have an argument for. Jose, for different reasons. Maybe Mike Lowell and Miguel Cabrera.
For the Marlins retiring their number,
Yeah.
or Hall of Fame. I see my number 1 was either going to be Conine or Jack.
Jack makes sense. Conine.
Not Conine.
No.
He's Mr. Marlin.
That's
Yeah, but he's not.
David,
Come on.
it's
I mean, Castillo should have his number
It just
retired
tires me
before.
that everyone
Yeah,
talks
Castillo
about
is a good one.
number of years players are on the team.
Right.
We did not overhaul the team as often as we probably should have.
How many years was Conan on the team?
He was there 93, 94, 95, 96,
Okay.
97.
Louis
This-
Castillo is a sneaky good one.
if we're just talking about all teams and all of
Luis
sports,
Arias,
and
too.
let's put for every team, let's give every team a Mr. Blank, Mr. Marlin, Mr. Met. It is the worst of all the major teams, Mr. Any, like Jeff Conine, I love him. He's got a great handshake.
He's the worst of the misters.
But in terms of being Mr. Team, in terms of what he did on the field, and I know you can tell by your way you're looking at me, you don't like what I'm saying. I just don't I've always had problems with
His
him.
moment is what, the throw into home
All-Star
to get JT
MVP.
Snow
Yeah,
out.
he was an All-Star game
2
MVP.
rings.
Right.
I'm not saying he wasn't a fine Marlin,
So-
but the fact that he is anointed Mr. Marlin to me is a
It's
little
not
unjust.
Babe Ruth. I mean,
It's an indictment on the
If
franchise.
we're looking at all of the sports misters, I think he would be in the bottom 5.
I'm trying to think of the other misters. Who's Mr. Heat?
well, if every team had a mister,
Right.
Wait, who's the Heat's
Udonis
mister?
Haslam.
By the way, you wouldn't rather have Conine than Haslam on your team?
I think he's had a better career with the Heat than Conine did
Haslam's
with the
had
Marlins.
3 rings, and he's been on the team for 20
He's been a
years.
coach for the last 5 years.
The
hasn't he?
huge contributor in
In
those-
06.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive contributor.
That's 17 years ago.
And he's still on the team.
At his peak Udonis Haslam is as good as peak Jeff Conine.
it wouldn't be Haslam though. It would be Dwayne Wade probably, right? He would be Mr.
Pretty
Heat.
good one.
It would
But-
be Wade. It would be
Right.
Wade.
But
Who's Mr.
Shaq,
Nick?
Shaq has his jersey retired by the Miami Heat. Tim Hardaway has his jersey retired by the Miami Heat.
But Shaq
Jimmy
is
Butler,
an all-time great, which
He
is why
is.
he had his number retired by the Heat.
He is, and Tim Hardaway just got inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. But Jimmy Butler's had a better Heat career than Tim Hardaway, certainly. And even though Shaq has a title, Jimmy Butler in that uniform has had bigger moments.
He's had more moments. I mean, David, that's for sure. He's had bigger moments than Shaq. He's had bigger moments than most members of the Heat.
Did Shaq win a ring with the
Historically.
Heat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
06.
Yeah.
I know. That was rhetorical. That's
Yes.
it. His time with the Heat was more successful than Jimmy's. It's not even an argument in my mind that I can make. What is the response? That Shaquille O'Neal, his time with the Heat was less productive than Jimmy's time with the Heat.
Yeah, Shaq had Wade, and Jimmy is the Wade of this team.
Right. But they
Yeah,
won.
Jimmy has no one else.
But is that the answer, that you view Shaq's relationship with the Heat as less interesting, less successful, less important?
I went to the jersey retiring ceremony for Shaq, and what Pat said at that jersey retirement is what Shaq actually signified. That they were in the big whale hunting game, and it changed the course of the franchise, and it developed this championship or bust mentality. And there were all sorts of intangible things that Shaq brought to the table, a legitimacy for a franchise that could never get over the hump. And his job was to get them over the hump, and he did. He did. He wasn't even the best center on the roster in 2006. Zoe had probably a more productive NBA Finals, but Avery Johnson still defended Shaq as if he were that dude. And so Wade carries them to that Finals championship with some suspicious officiating. But I think in terms of wearing that jersey and having these memorable performances and just the level of play, Jimmy Butler. And remember, Shaq arguably should have won an MVP in his first year in Miami, having lost to Steve Nash. I still think Jimmy Butler's been a better member of the Miami Heat. You said that he's not a top 5 member of the Miami Heat. That sounds wild
The
to me.
recency bias you're showing is extraordinary.
Well, he's not.
He's been
truly-
great
it's
not-
recently.
it's not-
yes.
You think he's a top 5? Who would
Excuse
you
me.
who would you kick out?
How long did the Big Three era in Miami last?
4 years.
Right. How long has Jimmy Butler been in Miami?
4 years.
Okay.
But the Big Three had 2 titles.
And 4 championship appearances.
And they were in the finals 4 straight.
I know,
Other
but they
than
had
that,
the other two as teammates. That's
Way
what-
more help.
Are you going to
Jimmy
argue?
Butler is the team.
You
I would
cannot
take-
argue that Jimmy Butler's the same level as LeBron.
I'm
in
not.
The 4
I'm
years.
not. But I'm
That's-
saying he's
that's
top
what they're
5 easily. I would say that Jimmy
who do you
Butler
take out?
surpassed Chris Bosh in terms of success in that uniform. I mean, not
Chris Bosh has 2
rings,
championships.
not rings, but in terms
Right.
of being like
Simply
a
from
great
individual
player,
performance.
Let's hear the-
individual performance. He's-
But Chris Bosh also played in a time that there's only one basketball and there's 3
There
superstars.
still is one basketball.
There's
player.
always
they
been
Okay,
one
but there's only
basketball.
but
Yes.
there's only
Rule
one
doesn't change.
superstar.
I agree with you. He had to go
Chris
levels
Bosh
down.
exactly right. Chris Bosh had to make sacrifices, and
I
that's
think
why his
Jimmy's
stats are not
replaced
as
He was
Antoine
the
good.
odd
Walker.
man out.
That's
I
who
think
he's replaced.
I think it
Antoine
goes.
Walker. Jesus, David.
It goes Wade, LeBron, Jimmy. Like you can make an
Chalmers.
Jimmy's surpassed Zoe.
Let's hear David's top 5 real quick. Can
Keep
we
in
do
mind that I'm a Knick guy. I hate
Right.
the Heat.
it? Okay.
But here's top 5 Heat players. Alonzo Mourning is in the top 5.
All right.
Period.
Are you going to rank them?
And I'll rank them right now. Alonzo at 5. Chris Bosh at 4 because of his fingers.
And the sacrifice.
Shaquille O'Neal at 3. Dwayne Wade at 1. And without a question, LeBron.
At 2?
At 2? We did that in weird
At
orders.
1.
Yeah.
Wait at 1.
You said,
Said
I
Wade
Dwayne Wade
at
at
1.
2, LeBron at 1.
whoa! Okay.
You're
no,
putting
Wade's
LeBron
at
ahead
1.
of Wade. Wow.
You're
LeBron
now-
is ahead of Wade. LeBron is
No
the second
UD, no
greatest
Timmy
player.
Hardaway.
Wade has more titles than LeBron down here.
Yeah, you said look at the fingers for Bosh.
You're nodding.
Yes, Bosh, but when I look at their quality, LeBron is a better player by far.
So
Chris
wait,
Bosh.
now we're
That's what
looking
we're
at
doing with
individual quality.
I'm looking at
Okay.
individual
Interesting.
team success. I'm taking them all into account. They're all going into the Sylvester McMonkey McBean machine, and I'm coming out with Jimmy Butler because of the last 6 games does not crack my top 5 he plays.
It's not the
which is
last
a
6 games.
compliment
It's
to
an
the
Eastern
Heat.
Conference championship.
We're
It's
talking about him
a
this
Max
year.
Strus heel away from another appearance in the NBA Finals.
You're talking about him nonstop. It's all you talk about is Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
Like a warm blanket is how I feel watching Jack Nicholson sit courtside at a Laker game. I'm absolutely, Stu, having issues with mortality as I enter my mid-50s.
Right.
And Jack Nicholson had disappeared. I thought he was done going to Lakers games. And he was just shown on a balcony with a picture that made him look so far from The Shining and A Few Good Men, and something's got to give. And then all of a sudden he showed up
The
at a Laker
Shining,
game.
he actually looked like The Shining. He did.
But much younger.
Yes.
He's way disheveled. His shirts are untucked. He shows up.
Right.
And I was both jarred and comforted by seeing him sit front row.
I was super happy to see Jack where he belongs. He was a fixture on their courtside seats for basically my entire time growing up until very recently, where he started, once he retired from filmmaking, he kind of became a bit of a recluse. My main takeaway from seeing Jack courtside was, why do you have binoculars? You're courtside.
Right.
But how do you know what his eyes are like at 86 years old? And maybe he's looking for dates or something across
It's not even
the court.
It's not even practical. It's not even practical to have binoculars when you're that close to the action. It's not.
think
You
that
can't follow
David,
the
he's-
action.
He's sitting courtside.
He's
I mean, Mike
courtside.
is right. Yes.
As someone who's worked with blind people before, yes, you can look at me, Louie, if you want, which I don't know if we have that.
Well, that's a weird brag, I'd
Yeah.
say.
I'm saying that you
I will
don't
not.
realize
He's, like,
what
waiting
tunnel
for it.
vision can be.
I know.
You don't realize. I was not offended by the binoculars. I was too busy feeling good. Seeing him there made me happy.
I felt good too, but you didn't make the observation. Like you're awfully close to be having binoculars.
Even-
Like, what do you?
Do you think he would
What
have
are you
been
creeping
there
on?
if that photo of him on the balcony didn't come out where people were like, oh, wow, he doesn't look bad? Like, it's like, let's get him to a game.
You think his PR person called him and said,
I
Jack?
did wonder, like,
time to
is
go to
there
a
a
game.
reason why all of a sudden he's back in action?
I assume
'cause
he
the
was
Lakers
feeling better.
The
Back in
Lakers,
action.
LeBron. Yeah.
Because when they made their run to the finals, it was
In a
COVID
bubble.
in a
Yep.
bubble, and he wasn't allowed to. They didn't make the playoffs last year, did they?
no.
No.
So he's back in action.
Fairweather fan.
I
So
was
you just felt a level of comfort, just by seeing someone who was a fixture at Laker games in the 80s, 90s, when Kobe played. You just felt a level of comfort just seeing him sitting there watching the Laker game in his normal spot.
It's the same way I feel about Spike Lee, who I watched sit courtside in great seats.
But he's always there.
Way better than Section 117.
Yes.
I watch him, and I am happy when he goes to games. But if we had a list, actors who are still alive, and then you see a picture, it just happened to me with Gene Hackman.
I have a dangerous game to play, David, if you want to play
Are
it.
they alive or dead?
No. This game is send a message to Skipper and ask him for 2 tickets to tomorrow's game and see if your tickets are better than Stugotz's.
Let's not do that.
A lot happened during the break that would make that game way more dangerous than what you're describing, including an absolute hard stop, don't discuss it anymore. Except it didn't come to me because my Metalark email is behind 14 different passwords
Right.
and different push notifications, so screw it. I can talk about anything.
I got to it late.
Very late. Way too late. So I'm looking at it and I see Gene Hackman. And Gene looks old enough that I don't want to see him courtside. But somehow Jack got himself together or was just on the edge. And it got me realizing that there's a whole generation now of people who growing up, like my son, who Jack Nicholson is in movies that are old movies. He's not a current movie star.
He's not relevant. He's not current. And I think an entire generation was like, who was that old kooky guy sitting courtside at a Laker game?
You
Like,
don't
they were
find
not
that depressing?
I do find it depressing, yes.
I want Jack at every game, and I want him to put makeup on. I want him to be like Bernie. That's the goal I would have, is for Jack Nicholson to be Bernie.
From Weekend at Bernie's. You want his dead
Oh, is
corpse to be there.
Not the Miami Heat mascot, right?
I want to be like Bernie Sanders.
What about him?
Let's
Like
play the game. Which Bernie
the
do
hair
you wanna
look?
be?
We
or
just
the-
didn't know which Bernie you were talking about.
Bernie Williams.
When I say
I don't
Bernie
think it was
with make,
him.
so
Bernadoodle.
Weekend at Bernie's was missed. The room missed it.
Well,
No, we got
you
it.
should say I want him to be like Weekend at Bernie's because there's a lot of Bernies.
You could have said Lomax, too, and then we would have known
Bernie
for sure.
Lomax would have
Yeah.
helped a lot.
More
We're talking about
people.
Jack Nicholson from the
Madoff.
Adam Sandler
Yeah.
comedy Anger Management.
That's
right?
the
Yes,
one.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where I saw him.
Bernie
last.
from Weekend at Bernie's isn't like Cher. He does not have full ownership of the name Bernie.
I think that for a certain group of people who are between the age of 37 and 57, when you say Bernie, you're talking Weekend at Bernie's.
Not the first, and I love Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2. Not among the. There's a great sequel.
All right, name your top 5 Bernies then.
Bernie Parmalee.
Top 5 Bernie.
Oh, that's a good one, Bernie Parmalee.
It's not among the
Anyone's
first
5.
15 Bernies that I think.
Nor is Bernie the mascot for the Heat.
Among the top.
Yeah, he's
Also
15
spelled
Bernies.
differently
Room,
with a
yes.
U.
It's
yeah.
a dated reference.
Weekend at Bernie's is.
But
Oh
if you
my
say
God,
Bernie
yes.
Lomax, I know exactly who you're talking about.
R.I.P.
Bernie Kosar.
Bernie Mac, by the way, R.I.P.
Bickerstaff.
Bernie Toppin.
Oh,
Bernie
Bickerstaff.
Bernie King.
Steve Martin.
That's you. How can you bring that into the conversation? I think you're already on vacation. He's
am.
so happy over here for going to Knicks games that he's out of the segment.
Well, work is
Steve
Stugotz.
Martin also is canon.
Work is Stugotz's vacation from vacation.
Yes.
I'd say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go to the Mecca for a little game, too. I mean, it's going to be great.
I just think that you should try to get tickets before you don't go to work.
I'm working on it.
I'm just saying work harder.
Yeah. Are we doing top 5 Bernies?
I'd like to
I've
hear.
got a few, actually.
Really?
Who's gonna do the list?
You can go, Jess.
Okay. I mean, it's less fun
I
when
think
do
she
it.
doesn't have 5. Less fun when you can't critique.
I have way more than 5.
Cut it down.
Number 5, Bernie Madoff. Number 4, Bernie Ecclestone.
Who's Bernie Ecclestone?
F1.
Yeah.
F1 guy.
Okay.
Good one.
My number 3, Bernie Mac.
R.I.P.
Number 2, Bernie Toppin. He's the Elton John.
I
you
write
guys
the
watch.
songs
Oh.
that
Rocket
make
Man.
the whole world sing.
Yeah.
Number 1, Bernie Sanders.
Kind of surprised you didn't have St. Bernard on your list.
OLI, Bernadoodles.
I think that your list is great, but it is not everybody's top 5.
Why would he need binoculars
It is weird.
if he's courtside?
Is
Is he using them for
things.
creeping?
He doesn't need to. He can have someone else.
It's like when you walk into someone's apartment complex, condominium, and you look at their balcony and they have a telescope. You know you can't
You're
trust
looking
them.
at the moon.
Amateur
Come on.
astronomers.
Even
yeah.
from the
They're
upper
amateur
deck,
something
even
going
from the
on.
upper deck, binoculars. Like, what are you really? You can't follow a game.
Roy had
with
binoculars in
No,
his backpack.
Reporters use binoculars in the press
That's how
box
you
all
know
the
who's
time.
playing.
Yeah,
But they're in
By
the
way,
press
when you're
box.
in the
incredibly
top-
common.
Yeah, but they're
not
very far
courtside.
But my
away.
point is you can maybe look at a player if you need to know a jersey, but in terms of following a game, like nobody's in the upper deck. Like, oh, this is a great seat now. Now I can watch all the action. Like, it just stinks regardless.
I used to do that as a kid, like at Marlins games in the upper deck. I loved binoculars. I thought they were cool. You'd look down to see who's in the bullpen because that's before you had like these scoreboards that had freaking everybody's heartbeat on it. You know?
But if you were sitting in the dugout, would you need him?
to see your
Because
bullpen.
that's where Jack is sitting. He's essentially in the dugout.
But he's
courtside.
trying to look in the huddle. Maybe he's looking to see who's walking around. Maybe he just can't see and he has ocular issues.
Maybe.
I'm with David. We're being ableist.
Yeah. David's worked with blind people, guys.
I don't know what an ableist is.
That's a good point.
That was
I've
a good
never
thing.
even
You
heard
were-
that word.
Does he put the binoculars over his sunglasses?
What if it was a flask?
He could have just forgot they were there too.
No, you have to actively put them on. You can't forget, right? They were the ones that were wrapped around his neck.
You could forget.
He had to actually, unless someone dressed him.
I love the idea of it being like a flask. Like you got into one of those weird,
Looking for free
weird
liquor.
novelty
I
stores.
love that we broke this down more than the actual Lakers.
He doesn't want to
game.
pay that $18.25 for a double, so he's like, let me sneak it in.
That's how you stay rich.
I just know that Jack Nicholson ought to be at every game. And I love the fact that if I'm dealing, right, with the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm dealing with the team who not just lost to a better team, but now I'm totally screwed because my star player might as well be Zion. So the Grizzlies going to the offseason as a failure, total failure with what happened to their season. And I'm saying to myself, I've done it all wrong. And that's where my position is. The Lakers do it right, and we did it wrong. We're idiots. We have Dylan Brooks doing idiot things.
What'd you make of Ja Morant after that series saying that the loss is on me?
It's on me.
Yes.
I've got to be more mature. I've got to look who I hang out with. I think you ought to trade him. And they just signed him.
Trade him?
His whole max deal, by the way, is suffering because he's not an All-NBA guy. He filed a lawsuit because he's not all NBA. Did you guys hear about this?
What?
Ja Morant filed a lawsuit against the teenager because he believes that teenager is responsible for Ja Morant not being all NBA. And when you're not all NBA, he's not getting the super max of the super max. This is news to everybody.
Yeah, I just
I
Googled
agree
that.
with Ja.
You believe that he's not all NBA?
I
because
believe
of the
he is
teenager.
all NBA, and I believe, yeah.
He's suing for the difference between what he's going to get paid and what he would have gotten paid were he to be all NBA.
because this kid didn't vote for him.
No, because this kid sued him. No.
Oh.
It's not a right.
I didn't vote for him, David. What
was
are you?
weird.
You're not listening.
Yeah. I don't think you presented it correctly.
Does the money come out of this kid's pot? Like this kid's
But
gonna have to sell.
again-
This kid's gonna have to sell a lot of lemonade.
This kid doesn't have $50 million. It's an absolute loser of a lawsuit. It cannot. And plus, we could name right now 6 guards who are better than Ja to
No,
begin
you
with.
can't.
For this season?
I don't know. About
David,
that,
Ja Morant is all NBA. Like,
Take
he has
a
every
look
right
at
to be
who's-
upset by it.
I looked at who the All-NBA people are going to be this year. Listen, I was all Ja. I was saying that New Orleans made a mistake by drafting Zion when they could have had Ja because Ja's going to have a better career. And now all of a sudden, you got a problem.
It's time to play the game.
Name him.
Name 6 guards.
I'm happy. You
See,
ready?
Ja's a name that you could just throw out Ja, and contextually, I'll know who you're talking
Not
about.
like
There's a
Bernie.
chance it's Ja Rule, but it's certainly not like Bernie.
Or Madonna. Or Cher.
Yeah, Billy's right. You
guys
should have
are old.
you should have added Lomax.
Or Jay-Z.
There you go. A little better.
Or Drake. I can keep going.
But Bernie isn't
Yes.
in that universe.
Yes, he is, Bernie. We were talking about an old guy who looks like he's dead. It was context. There were tons of context clues. You think I was talking Ecclestone?
Name 6
I
guards.
mean,
Did you just say Bernie has the same relevance as Drake?
Ecclestone?
Like you're saying Weekend at Bernie's is as relevant as Drake. Is that what you? I think I just heard you kind
The
of say.
reference Weekend at Bernie's talking about an old guy who looks dead is way more
So,
current
Jess,
than Drake.
in Weekend at Bernie's
What?
2, there's
What?
a voodoo curse that's put on him, and he dances around on his heels, and at one point, someone shoots a spear through his head, and the entire movie, he's got like an arrow through his head, just zombieing it up.
Steve Martin also.
It's one of the weirder things.
David and I were talking during the break about Will Levis, who sat there and sat some more and sat some more, and unlike Aaron Rodgers, was not selected in the first round, was sitting there with his girlfriend. And it does beg
What are you eating?
Granola bar.
Yeah.
I didn't hear your countdown.
Why would? What? That's a lie.
I didn't hear it. I mean, David, you're sitting right next to me.
this segment.
You started the segment. You knew
Well,
exactly.
because my mic went
What
on and I had to
immaculate
talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
No,
Come
but
on.
sometimes you have momentum while you're eating something and you have to take another bite. Like you can't stop, right?
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had granola bar
Could have
momentum
washed it
going.
down with a water from a
I
brand who
didn't,
doesn't
yeah.
Do you think
sponsor us.
Do you think the mayo and the coffee and the eating the banana with the peel affected Will Levis's draft?
No, I think
placement?
him not being
What?
very good this season affected his draft.
I think it's the mayo and the coffee.
Wasn't he the favorite to be selected number 1 overall?
I think
No.
the odds were very skewed in Bryce Young's favor like last Tuesday morning. Like he was overwhelmingly on all the sports books. He had great odds. And then like Tuesday night something flipped and people were crediting it
Mayo?
to a Reddit post.
It was a Reddit post that made him. He went from like a 50 to 1.
Yeah, to like 5
to
to
a
1 or
4 to 1.
4 to 1. Yeah. And,
But he was the heavy favorite to be drafted number 2 overall.
well, yeah, but I don't know. The whole thing was very bizarre because then Bryce Young got drafted first overall and everyone was like, all right, we kind of knew that was going to happen. But he was not the favorite until last Tuesday night. And then all of the odds changed on the sports
But
books.
he didn't come back for day 2. He disappeared.
Right.
He wasn't there.
I don't
One of the
think
guys did come
Do
back.
they do the green room on day 2?
Well, one of the guys who was sitting there
Okay.
from day 1 stayed and got drafted day 2.
It
and was
has
there.
happened before. I mean, I remember like Deshaun Kaiser was on the red carpet for the draft his season that he was projected to be drafted in the first round and he dropped into the second.
I think it's outrageous that you invite players and then you have that as your PR for a league. It's not a good look. It's not.
It happens though.
It does. I do. But the juice to me of having a player there, the excitement of it, I think you only do it when it's a guarantee.
It felt
There
like
are
a guarantee,
no guarantees, though.
No, but
And-
Will
It was
Levis.
a heavy favorite.
Yeah,
to take him
I
early.
think
Right.
at the very least, whether or not he was going to be the second quarterback chosen, I don't think anyone anticipated him dropping into the second round.
It's always good TV though. I feel like when there's one guy, it stinks for him. But
I
like,
think you're the
it's
minority.
sad TV. Like when
Right.
Lamar Jackson was waiting until
I like
32 to get picked, like that stunk.
Yeah, the NFL doesn't want that as good TV. They want the draft. They don't want people are talking about.
Man.
It's
They
don't
their
want the
nightmare.
drama of
Man.
this guy was supposed to go top 5.
Do you
and he's
remember
still
when
here?
Manziel fell though, and he was there when the Cowboys were picking? That was good
An
theater.
exciting moment, yes.
That was good drama.
Yeah. Are you saying don't invite any players, or it has to be a sure thing?
I'm saying it's got to be a Nicolette Sheridan. It
But-
absolutely has to be a sure thing because the
It felt like
issue-
a sure thing, though. How's the NFL supposed to know that? You know?
the surprises are not as you would think. There's very few drafts that happen where the league is the people within the operations department are saying, "Wow, I had no idea." Like, do you remember in basketball when they draft a guy from Europe instead of someone who's available from the States? The league knows about this. So it's not like they get the call and say, "Oh my God, you're thinking of that guy?" So I think that they knew. And it was good theater. I guess they viewed it that way with the girlfriend sitting there. But to me, it's embarrassing.
It keeps a storyline going throughout the draft. It does, that first round. Like, I didn't enjoy watching him suffer the way he did. Chris did. He's evil.
I'm not saying I enjoyed it. I'm just saying I'm watching the draft. It's a storyline that I'm tracking. I'm like, oh, he's still there. I wonder where he's going to go.
I think
it makes it more interesting.
I think also like players know that they might not get picked in the first round. Like something could happen. It happens,
Don't
and you
players-
could always do a party at your house, which a lot of players do in the first round, and that's why I think some people get invited that might not get picked because they want a certain amount of people there to walk on the stage and get handed the jersey and hug Goodell. But not every player wants to be in Kansas City on draft night. They want to be at home with their families.
And it happens every year, right? There's one person that slips through the draft, and you always see him, and they always go to him, and it's like, oh, here's the guy that's slipping this year.
Do they know in advance?
They
Now,
don't know in
that
advance.
would be
If they
good.
knew in
That's
advance,
scripted.
Arian Foster over here.
If somehow they're just made aware, like you're that guy. We
I
want you to
always
be here, but
Will
you're
Levis
that guy.
read the script for the draft, and he was like,
He was
God
like,
damn
oh,
it.
come on.
It's me.
I always assume that these players have so many conversations with teams that they know, okay, these are the 5 or 6 teams that have the most interest in me. So, like, I'm probably going to end up either here, or here, based off of, it could be somewhere random at the end, but I always feel like the quarterback specifically, I feel like they talk to position coaches
Or their
like,
agents know, right?
Right. It could be
agents know.
lying.
A lot of like the second rounders know that because they'll show the camera that they have set up at their house and they immediately put on the hat and it's like, well, you don't have 32 of those laying around. Like you knew that it was going to be like one of 3 teams.
I think
probably.
they do get sent all hats.
all
though.
32.
They don't have all 32 hats.
No,
They
they
do.
don't
No,
send
they don't.
32 hats to the home of the draft.
There was
To
one
the
kid.
first
Baseball,
rounders?
we
There
knew.
was one kid with a coffee table. It looked like all the hats were there.
Do you know how when people say where they're going for college, they call it like signing day?
Yes.
And you think that they have like all these hats? Everybody knows where they're going. It's all pre-done, all of it,
Yeah, but they take the final 3, I guess, and they make it
just for theater.
Yeah, but it's great. I
But
love
you
that
don't need
theater.
32 for that.
So do you guys think that Will Levis left the?
You're doubting Bryce Young has all 32 NFL caps?
Way doubting.
I know, like the university accounts that post some of like the congrats blank player videos. They have the players that are projected to get drafted try on all 32 hats and do 32 takes so that they have a social video for it.
They have to.
Notre Dame did that this year. Like they have to. So it wouldn't surprise me. And the league probably gets free New Era hats. Why wouldn't they send them out to or ESPN, whoever is doing it, to whoever they're sending their live shot cameras to? I mean, it makes sense. I don't know why you would risk not having it if it's the shot that you want.
In
Yeah, they
fairness,
don't
New Era
send
sent us
32.
like 8 hats to
Exactly.
here, and none
They're
of us
just-
got
They're
drafted.
just printing hats left and right.
So there's actually a pool. That's not how it goes, but it doesn't matter. It's you get a group of free stuff that comes in the deal when you have a sponsor like that, and then you allocate however you want. New Era doesn't care.
No, I'm investigating this right now. I'm gonna get one of the live hit producers or camera people on, try to figure out how many hats there are. Don't
I love
worry,
that.
I'll get back.
It doesn't
to you.
matter. David knows.
No, okay.
But I figured Will Levis was going to be drafted. I think Will Levis
We all
and his
did.
agent all thought he was going to be drafted. So I don't like to not invite someone who's on the fringes if that person wants to be there. To me, doesn't. If they want to endure it, I'm fine with it. You know,
How
I
important
don't
is
think
the
Will
hug?
Levis knew he was going to endure that.
These are first world problems, right? We can all agree. Like, are we really feeling that bad for him? Like, it's if that's the worst thing that happened, like he gets drafted a little later than he thought, and he has to sit
He actually
there.
landed in a good spot, didn't he? Went to Tennessee.
He's third on the depth chart behind Malik Willis, allegedly.
That can't be a good spot. Being
Tannehill's
got to
gotta be
depth
out.
chart anywhere.
Yeah,
Tannehill's
Tannehill
got
has
to
to be
Tannehill
out.
is
Yeah.
none of his money's guaranteed this upcoming season.
I mean, for Aaron Rodgers, he didn't listen. He was drafted in the first round, but he ended up by slipping. He actually ended up in a good spot and a good team. You know, he had to wait a couple of years for Favre, but it worked out to his benefit. I'm not saying it made it feel any better in the moment. I'm certain Aaron was embarrassed in the moment. I'm certain Will Levis was embarrassed in the moment. I will tell you this: I'm not certain I want a quarterback on my team who refuses to come back for day 2, just because he didn't get his way on day 1. That would be my Will Levis take. Don't want him. Not a leader. Doesn't have the guts.
I think that what's
he going to do in an embarrassing moment on the field?
And he will
Not
get
come back for
embarrassed.
the next drive?
The whole thing about the draft for me, and we
Wait,
talked about
wait,
it.
wait.
Hold on.
wait,
You
wait.
You wouldn't take him on your team because he didn't go back for the next day?
Terrible look. Yeah.
What if he?
boy.
Okay.
A terrible
No.
look.
I'm
I
not
mean,
entertaining this.
I didn't
That's
get my way. I
incredibly
wasn't
silly.
drafted in the first round.
Temper
Therefore,
tantrum. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
See what I'm
Keep
saying?
pushing this. See if you can talk me into this.
Right. So I didn't get my way first round. No one drafted me. What am I going to do? I'm going to be unprofessional about it and not show up to day 2 of the draft. Things don't go my way. You know what I do? I just don't show up. I don't want that guy to be my leader. I don't want him to be my quarterback. I'm certain Will Levis had a terrible day, and I'm certain I'm probably making it worse if he listens to this. But I don't want that guy to be my quarterback,
Nobody did.
Yeah.
There were 32 teams who said we don't want him to
including
be our
Tennessee.
quarterback. Once.
Yes.
I think it's very obvious what you do if you're the NFL. You have to have it fixed because there's no reason for this to be a narrative. And it can be fixed. It is fixed. They know. Will Levis just didn't drop. that
So
day.
wait, hold on. It
There's
has to be
no
fixed.
way
It
they
can
know,
be fixed.
David.
It is fixed. So they knew and they just wanted to embarrass him? Why didn't
You
they tell
said
his
it's
girlfriend
theater.
she could go pee? She kept saying she had to go pee. Why didn't they
So
let
are
her?
you saying all the picks are predetermined?
Part of the illusion.
The
Billy.
league is very, very in the know.
They
when
probably
it
know
comes to
who
the
they were
draft.
interested in and who we're kind of aiming for, but trades happen, things change. Like
There's
this
whole
can't-
departments within the leagues who actually meet with the teams and talk about what they're doing.
So
It's
they
what
do
they
they
do.
know that there are going to be trades that happen?
So all the trades get approved right before they're announced. Those trades don't just happen and then all of a sudden it's on the podium.
But like, before the draft? I don't understand.
Well, sometimes it is it is both before and at the draft.
but if
But
there's
the
a
league
trade that
always
happens
knows in advance.
in advance, how much though? Because we're talking about flying players to Kansas City to know whether or not they're going to be drafted in the first round.
The NFL puts the invitations out, and then it is up to the player and the player's agent to decide whether to accept it. If you're Will Levis, you are angry with your agent. Very angry.
For not telling you there's a chance that you're not going to
Be
make
better.
it.
Get drafted higher.
You cannot allow yourself to be that guy. You just can't. You need better PR. You need a better representative.
Yeah, but I don't think they have any way of knowing. Like you're saying this, they
The
should
agent
know.
should
There's
know.
no way. How?
We never
It's
drafted a
lying
guy
season.
one time where the person was like, oh, my God, I had no idea I was being drafted. Everybody knew. We never drafted a surprise. In any round, the player knows in advance what we're looking because you're negotiating, saying, we're looking at you in the 5th round.
Baseball is a draft?
It does.
Okay.
It does. It does. Yes, it does. Just think you're going to see some changes. I don't think you're going to see someone sitting there
But
like
this
that.
isn't the first time it's happened. It's happened before.
But this is getting more attention. To me, this rose to a different level this year because it was someone who's expected to go so high who then ended up falling completely and then not showing up.
It doesn't make any sense. You have no peripheral vision. You're already courtside. What are you looking at? You're like zoomed all the way in on their hips. You just see gold. You can't follow the action, and on top of that, you're wearing sunglasses.
Maybe he wears
This
them
is-
the other way, like where everything seems far away. and now he can watch
He
the
was
whole
too. He was too close to the action. Yeah.
We never saw him use them, not one time, Nicholson with his binoculars.
My money's on he just forgot they were hanging on him.
My money's on a flask.
I like the flask idea. I did.
That he was bird watching on his balcony, and he just like someone said, "Hey, Jack, let's go to the Laker game." Oh, all right.
And he just kept them on.
It's his tickets. Maybe Jack will invite you to sit courtside if the Lakers play the Knicks in the finals.
Oh,
How
stop
mad
it.
was whatever family member's been getting all these tickets? How mad were they? They're like, oh, now you want to show up.
It's
There
the
is
rules.
tickets though.
Right.
I do love the idea that he was wearing them the opposite way just so he could get the full view of the court. You know, a little too close. I'm just seeing the ball. I want to see everybody.
They're just like us.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. 96 calories available for delivery. Dan, he put on a playoff show for the ages in the bubble back in 2020. Shortly after, he tore his ACL and has been on a long road to recovery. But Dan, he's averaging 28.5 points per game in these playoffs, including a 34-point performance in Game 1 against the Suns, and one of the all-time greats, Chris Paul. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, Jamal Murray is back. No Dan, no Pablo, just Samson. Okay, my goal is to get through an entire show without discussing Tucker Carlson. Jesus. We've covered this story more than CNN. I mean, enough. I'm looking at you, Samson.
I'm not saying a word.
All right.
I don't want to interrupt you. You're doing great.
Chris Paul is the gift that keeps on giving. Steph Curry, vintage. To all the people who criticize Lamar Jackson for not using an agent to help him navigate through free agency, I've got one word for you. Morons.
You were the harshest critic.
I was?
They only charge 1%. He could have gotten an agent for 1%.
Morons.
Oh, my God. We're still going to argue about it?
Morons.
Stu.
Being criticized by morons for not having an agent and securing the wealthiest contract in NFL history.
Not.
You know what Lamar Jackson had, Dan? Lamar had the last laugh. You know what the L in Lamar stands for? It stands for last laugh. It was the wealthiest contract in NFL history, wasn't it?
No, Deshaun Watson is. By far. Don't worry about the facts. Keep going.
Morons. Speaking of last laughs, LeBron, Dylan Brooks, legendary Philadelphia radio host Howard Eskin said he would have retired if the Eagles drafted Bijan Robinson. Classic Eskin. By the way, the news here is that Howard Eskin hasn't retired yet. Retiring if a team does something you don't want them to do. Top 5 radio bits done only for PR and ratings. Number 5, eating actual crow because you said you would do so if you were wrong. It's called the Brendan Tobin. Number 4, threatening to root for another team. Number 3, threatening to quit your job if a team does something you don't want them to do. Number 2, making a bet where the loser has to shave their head. Number 1, making a bet where if you lose, you have to do a show from the Clevelander in front of Charles Barkley wearing nothing but your underwear. The Le Batard. Watch out for the Phils. Clayton Kershaw off to a 5-1 start with a 1.69 ERA. Hey, Clayton, do it in the postseason. Toronto Maple Leafs, congratulations on your first playoff series win in 20 years. You know what they did, Dan?
What, Stu?
They got the monkey off their backs. The Leafs. Cantavius Caldwell-Pope always seems to be in the center of everything. KCP. Houston Texans saying they weren't using a quarterback, or they weren't taking a quarterback and then taking a quarterback. Well done. That's how you execute lying season.
Thank you.
Why are you thanking me?
Because those are fabulous observations. Are there more?
There are more.
Thank
yes.
God.
Cowboy scout Chris Vaughn calling his son Deuce Vaughn and asking him if he'd like to come to work with him next week because the Cowboys were drafting him.
Nepo, baby.
Goosebumps.
Hard worker.
Couple of Vaughns cutting it up. Also, David, nepotism. I actually wrote that down. I put it in there. Jimmy Butler, do it in the finals that aren't played in a bubble. Nathan Eovaldi is a Texas Ranger. Huh?
Who knew?
So is Andrew Heaney.
What?
2 former Marlins.
Really?
Both Texas Rangers.
Cutting it up.
Walker.
Kyle Lowry, one of the all-time greats at just getting in everyone's way. Mike, you owe him an apology.
He had a good fourth quarter last
He
night.
had a good game yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
Thank you. Apologize.
He's over the hill.
No, he's not a good player consistently.
He's not.
He's finished.
Be that, and I will apologize.
What do you mean he's finished?
He had a good run, but he's finished.
He just had a great game.
He's done, but thank you. We needed someone to step up in that fourth quarter, especially with Jimmy's injury, and he stepped up, and he was big down the stretch.
Kyle Lowry cannot bring a title to a team.
Congratulations to the Eagles for winning the draft. Dan, you know what the B in Jalen Brunson stands for? Bricks. Boston Bruins, enjoy your President's Cup. There's a new Mr. Game 7 in town, and his name is Carter Verhaeghe. How about that? You score a goal in overtime in Game 7, you automatically become Mr. Game 7.
Top 5 all-time player.
Swaggy?
Top 5 in the history of the Panthers.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine how you're doing that, but keep observing.
You know what the B in Brandon Montour stands for?
Brick.
Balls. Big, gigantic balls. That goal with under a minute to go.
I'm not co-signing that description.
Balls. Klay Thompson can stroke it. Monty.
Hey, yo.
Texas Rangers, welcome to the Jacob deGrom experience. The deGrominator. What a bad contract that was.
It's just getting worse. It's not even bad
by
yet.
the start. Right?
It's getting worse by the day.
Big threes. Hustle. And the outlet pass. That's why you go out and get Kevin Love. Top 5 outlet passers of all time. This is big.
Difference maker with the Heat.
Who would you put on your top 5 outlet passers of all time? Who would you? Can you think of one off the top of your head?
Gerald Henderson.
Really? Not on mine.
Number 43 with the Celtics.
He was good and a great outlet passer. Number 5, Bill Walton. Number 4, Larry Bird. Number 3, Bill Russell. Number 2,
All Celtics.
Kevin McHale.
Celtics.
And number 1, Wes Unseld. Tony pointed at me.
Anytime that there's a two-handed pass that's crossed the court, Wes Unseld gets brought up. It doesn't matter who it is.
I wish that you had seen Wes Unseld play. He was
great.
He was really good.
Yes.
With Elvin Hayes.
Yes. Also a great outlet passer.
Also a Hall of Famer. And they won a championship.
They did.
Wes Unseld was better for the Bullets. They were the Bullets back then.
Mm-hmm.
The Washington Bullets. Did you observe that? Have you been to a Bullets game?
I have not been to a Bullets game.
Are there more?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Here come the Reds. Playing good ball. Sacramento Kings. Got to walk before you run. Congratulations to Aaron Rodgers, who finally has something to do.
Go to Ranger games, you mean?
He has things to do. Yes. Ranger game, goes to a Knick game, might go to a Rangers-Devils game 7 tonight. But it appears that he left Wisconsin simply because there was nothing to do.
Do you think he got rid of his house? That's what we were talking about before the show.
In Wisconsin?
Is his house on the market in Green Bay?
Do you think he had a house in Green Bay?
What did he do during the season? Airbnb?
I have no idea.
I promise you he had a house in Green Bay.
It's a miserable place. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
Have you been to Kenosha? I mean,
yes.
Really?
Born in Milwaukee, school in Madison, camp in Eagle River.
Jesus.
Wisconsin's my jam. I love Wisconsin. I love Green Bay.
I was thinking about, it must be so fun. Like when I go on Zillow, it's not that fun of an experience. I have to limit myself a lot with things. Like I'm imagining Aaron Rodgers just perusing Manhattan. Like he has no price limit.
Fifth Avenue.
Oh, like that has to be a cool feeling of like I just moved to a new team. I'm as rich as can be. I can just pick anywhere I want to live in like these lavish apartment. Oh, I can just imagine. I want to do it. I want to like
It'd
go
be
into
like
Zillow
you
later.
in Green Bay.
Right. If I was in Green Bay.
You'd have the ability to, your money goes a long way in Green Bay. I think Rodgers keeps his place for when they retire his number. Otherwise, he'd have to stay in an Airbnb. Okay, more observations?
But
Or
you could
done?
sell that thing as Aaron Rodgers' house and probably get like
They're
twice
going
as
to.
much as you
Someone's
No
gonna
doubt.
buy it.
They have to retire that number, right? They do.
Aaron Rodgers bought a 4,000 square foot 4-bedroom house near Green Bay in 2005 for $442,000 that he sold 5 years ago. Trying to find his current house though.
What did he sell it for? Do we know?
I'm on it.
A lot. I'm guessing.
Probably say it tripled in price.
I would say more than that. Because now it's Aaron Rodgers' house, you know? And you're selling it to a Packer fan, more than likely.
Couple milli.
Yeah, a couple milli.
There's no couple millies in Green Bay. Go ahead.
Sacramento Kings.
Hey, they're over the bar at the airport.
Do it at home. Documentary. Aftershock. Amazing. I'm not certain there is anything more entertaining in sports than the Zeller Minutes. Rangers, Devils, Game 7, 5 words. Put the kids to bed. New Jersey, an appropriate home for the Devils, especially northern Jersey. It's hell on earth there at Kenosha. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
It's hell on earth. That's the funny description.
Englewood and Tenafly are amazing. I don't think you've been to northern New Jersey, but
I was just there, New Brunswick.
There's
There's nothing new about it.
That is not the crown of northern New Jersey. That's like the Route 4 Paramus situation.
The 2005 home he bought for $442,000. He sold in 2017 for a loss at $424,000.
Stugotz had it at 1.2.
I convinced Tony it was
millies.
a couple of million.
Wait, hold on.
At
So
least triple.
He bought it for $400,000 and then lost $400,000 on it.
He paid $442,500 and he sold it for $424,900.
That's a terrible job.
12 years
It turns
later.
out people don't care
Bad
who slept
agent.
in the bed.
I almost bought Joe Girardi's house because it was Joe Girardi.
In Parkland? I could have told you that would have not been a good house to buy.
This is going to be a good one. I don't think you guys are ready. After a blank space on the calendar, Formula One is back in Azerbaijan despite its reputation for tight corners and narrow roads. F1 is putting a sprint race in Baku. On Saturday, Charles Leclerc is fearless in pole position as the sprint begins. But at the start, London boy George Russell delivers some karma to Max Verstappen, making him a move to push him wide. Max is red, but George says, don't blame me. Number 22, Yuki Tsunoda, clips the wall and loses a tire after just 2 laps. At the restart, Sergio Perez has a lead with 5 laps left. It's time to go. Checo wins the sprint race, but Max and George have bad blood when the race ends. You guys see what I'm doing yet? Will there be vigilante shit on Sunday?
This
Max,
is amazing.
You need to calm down because it's lights out and away we go in Baku. Sparks fly, and Verstappen is driving like he's in a getaway car and pulls out into the lead. Long story short, Nick DeVries has a glitch and a safety car ensues. Perez is in the lead after a slew of pit stops, but he's not out of the woods yet. The one driver, Max Verstappen, has speed, but that's when Sergio Perez says, bye-bye, baby. As the race ends, Esteban Ocon goes into the pit, but the mastermind race organizers have let press onto the treacherous pit lane. This is why we can't have nice things. 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton finishes in 6th. The last great American dynasty, Haas, finishes out of the points, but today was a fairy tale for Sergio Perez. Verstappen finishes in 2nd, which is better than revenge. 1-2 for Red Bull is nothing new. They don't have champagne problems on the podium, but the anti-hero Max Verstappen is only ahead in the Drivers' Championship by 6 points. Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift rumors are swirling. Long live Formula One.
You have to turn your mic on. Yeah.
Did Alonso go to Atlanta the other night to be with Taylor, do you think?
I think he was in Azerbaijan.
But he could have on the way back?
I think the Azerbaijan race was the morning after the concert in Atlanta.
She was there the 29th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that
day of the
famous
sprint
song?
race. Yeah.
No idea what you guys are talking about.
You didn't get anything that was going on.
I knew
That
what
was
she was doing.
sensational.
Tony didn't know.
Was it a
Tell
Baby
him.
Driver thing?
It was.
Baby Driver.
Yeah, Baby
Baby
Driver, the
Driver.
movie, Baby
I
Driver.
love
Baby
that
Lando.
movie.
Yeah.
No one's ever heard. That's another movie no
Baby
one's ever heard
Lando.
of.
I love that movie.
Taylor Swift. There are rumors that she is dating Aston Martin driver Fernando Alonso.
Oh, so you get T-Sizzle references. in
So
there.
There
I
were like 30 of
referenced
them.
like 50 Taylor
That's why
Swift
That was
songs.
incredible.
That's why Jeremy
Was that what that
liked it.
was?
Yes.
Poor Joe.
I don't know if the rumors. Poor Joe. I mean, come on. You're going to take Joe's side in any of this?
She's dating Fernando Alonso?
I don't think she
Potentially,
is.
maybe.
There was a rumor that was put on Dumois. Okay.
What's Dumois?
I did it so well that you wouldn't even know, so thank you.
I thought it was a Baby Driver thing that you were doing.
Bye Bye Baby is a Taylor Swift song.
Oh. You call
Anti-hero,
somebody
bad
baby,
blood.
right?
I think that's
Baby
an
Lando.
NSYNC
Out of the
song.
woods.
Baby Lando.
Bye 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 is an NSYNC
Oh.
song.
Fernando Alonso.
No, that's Backstreet Boys.
Fernando Alonso recently broke up with his wife or girlfriend. Taylor Swift
Or both.
recently broke up with her boyfriend Joe Alwyn.
What incredible
allegedly.
timing.
And now
Both of
there
them
is a
just happened to be
rumor
single and they
on
weren't cheating on
Dumois. Well, Billy, there's never been any evidence that they've ever met in person, as far as I'm aware. And this rumor came out of a post on Dumois, which I've now said like 6 times.
What is that?
What is Dumois?
Is that
They
like
have a
Twitter?
subscription
You know
now.
what Dumois is?
French
Dumois,
Is this a
You don't know what
French?
Dumois
Is
is?
this the French rags?
Dumois has a subscription
Wait, are you being
thing now on
serious?
IG.
I don't know what
yeah.
they have.
Oh
No
my
clue
God,
what
you
it
would
is.
love Dumois.
What is Dumois?
Is it like Bridgerton?
Yes.
What?
I don't know what that is.
maybe.
What is Bridgerton?
I mean,
It's a soccer team, I think.
Oh.
Dumois.
It's like
Am
the
I
gossip-
helping?
Wow, I feel like I'm not speaking anybody's language today.
Well, Dumois is French, so
Bridgerton is the gossip.
yes, I know what Bridgerton. It's
never
like
heard of that?
Gossip
No.
Girl. There's a person writing
Those are show on
gossip.
Netflix,
Yeah,
so
it's a whole
so,
thing.
Yeah.
Isn't he a little old for her?
I mean, let's not age shame. He's
He's
40,
not- he's in his-
41.
I thought he was still in his 30s.
No, I think
old
he's
for F1.
41.
He's 41. With
He's ugly.
Is he short? Because F1 drivers are short.
I was about to
He
say,
is
I think I
very
kind of look like
petite.
him.
So there'd be like a Dudley Moore, Susan Anton.
She is
situation.
very tall.
Very tall.
Yes. I don't know if there's any evidence that they're actually dating, but Aston Martin PR played it up this weekend. They did a lot to not deny it. We should say that. I mean, who knows? It was posted on Dumois in like their entertainment section, and they get blind items all the time that turn out to not. No, Dumois is like essentially now a brand. Like there's a podcast, there's an Instagram account. Have you ever followed any of like the old Hollywood gossip websites? No. David, I'm sure you have.
Yes.
Okay. This is like a newer version of that, and basically post things that people
Yes,
send them
that's what I'm
without
laughing at.
verifying
Joe
them.
Dumars. Sorry, Jess.
You say it was
Stop
in there.
interrupting Jess. She's trying to explain this.
I
It's just another day on the Le Batard
There's
Show.
nothing funny about Joe
The
Dumars.
irony is
I
that in this
apologize. It
was
instance,
not-
we are
Let's
completely
all talk at the
Say
same
it off
time.
the
This is
mic
going
and then
well.
laugh at it.
Dumars was fun.
He said it off the mic, and you're laughing at a Joe Dumars reference.
He heard
that
it though.
I think pretty objectively wasn't that funny.
I believe that Alonzo and Taylor Swift would be a bigger power couple than A-Rod and J-Lo.
And it totally distracted. We were
Imagine
getting
Taylor and Joe
somewhere.
Dumars.
He said sorry.
Just worked very
Fernando
hard. You know it's
Alonso-
Jess's birthday. You guys are being mean.
I'm sorry. Happy birthday, Jess.
It's your birthday today?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Wow.
Is that why you got the salmon breakfast?
Well, it's not her birthday until 40 minutes from now.
Actually, my 28 minutes. My birth. Actually, no.
You
I
live
can't
half
do math.
days? I don't
38
understand.
minutes.
She doesn't
I
celebrate
know my
her
birth.
birthday.
I know my birth time. So
until you were
that's when I
born.
celebrate.
It's so funny because David
it's
was
the day.
saying that he wishes his kids happy birthday at exactly the time that they were born.
That's
And I don't know
interesting.
what time my kids were born. Do you guys know what time your kids were born?
No,
Yes,
You.
Crunch
I
time.
don't have kids.
I do.
It's crunch time. That's what I kept telling everybody in the room. Go time. It's crunch time.
Am I the only
Was it
one who
Miller time?
knows the time that kids were
Miller
born?
time.
I remember like the hour. I can't tell you like
Yeah.
I know it was in the 7 p.m. hour. I know it was in
7 in front of the hour.
It's on the birth certificate.
I don't look at that thing regularly though.
How many Ricky Williams segments have you been a part of? You don't know your birth time?
That's why I investigated it in the last 5 years because people were really into star charts, and I was like, oh, maybe. But then I never followed up and got my star chart read. But I did find on my birth certificate that I was born at 12:58 a.m. Wait, no, p.m. Excuse me. But Central Time, so really I have another hour to go.
Changes everything.
It really does.
So Fernando Alonso's a short king, huh?
Oh my God, yes, he
He's
is a short
5'7".
king. Yes.
He looks short.
And back to
I've
your,
only seen him from like the chest up, and I'm like, that guy looks short.
Oh my God, I saw him at the Miami Grand Prix last year, and I
but
was
all
like,
drivers
wow,
have to be
he's-
short.
Not all of them. George Russell, I think, is 6'1".
But
He's
they all have to
very
be
thin.
small.
Yes, they
Max
don't weigh a
Verstappen
lot.
is very small.
He's like 5'11", 5'10",
like-
though. They're very
I'm
narrow.
talking
Yes,
that,
they're very
like his
thin.
girth.
Yeah.
What?
They're
Hell yeah.
But back to
very
your
slender.
Do you
Back
think
to
it's
your-
the biggest power couple, bigger than
I think
A-Rod and J-Lo?
I think Fernando Alonso internationally is probably pretty much, I would say, probably more famous than A-Rod, right? I mean, he's won a Formula One championship before. He's been in Formula One for like as long as Tom Brady was in the NFL, very long time.
We're late to F1, or I am, because of Netflix Drive to Survive. But F1 around the globe is a far bigger deal.
And Taylor Swift is a bigger artist than J-Lo,
By-
even in
not even
in
close.
J-Lo's like heyday. I think when she was in a lot of movies, I mean, did you see how many people were at her concert? She must be printing money off of this
Her
tour.
concert looks nuts, by the way.
I've
because
heard it's
she's-
amazing.
She's
I'm
going
not
for
even-
3 straight hours.
I'm
It
not even
looks
a
like
Swiftie, and I've heard
It's on my
like, you have
TikTok
to go.
algorithm. I watch it live almost every night. I go scrolling by and it's like
I
here
know
she
other
is in
people-
this
This is the
place,
best
and then
I
news.
click
know
on it.
people that do that watch her shows live every night
No.
because they look for specific parts that they change
Yeah.
a little bit.
She
People
like
will
adds she like adds a
scream.
song, right? Like to every show.
There's like songs that change in and out. There's certain ones
And
that
people
are
freak
structured
out if she
within
does
it.
a certain song. They're like, she did this, and everyone's like, ah! I see those TikToks, and I don't even know what
do
they
do
mean.
that, yeah.
They're also like turning that into like Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they basically have really specific timed things for each song, where people like 100 people in the crowd, or thousands of people in the crowd, all have pens to click it during a specific
What?
point of blank space. Like, it is really crazy what's happening at Taylor Swift concerts right now.
I feel as though that Taylor Swift doesn't need this, right? These partnerships, A-Rod, J-Lo, there was a business behind it. They were bidding for the Mets. They were trying to become this corporate thing. The Alonzo Swift thing, that may just be love.
I don't think there's any evidence that they've even met each other, though. Like, I think this could have just come out of nowhere on the internet.
Maybe they
I don't know anything. I
swiped
haven't
right.
seen anything.
Maybe they both got single and started swiping right and left.
They're on Raya. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
With Whitty?
I would like some evidence before I look too much into whether this is actually a celebrity couple or not.
You're
And I
willing
have
to
no
spend
evidence.
the time looking into Aaron Rodgers' ROI and his houses in Green Bay.
Yeah.
But not looking into this?
I have looked into it, and I'm still unclear where the rumor started because it said that it came from some Spanish news channel, and I couldn't find like an original post with the rumors in it. No pun intended.
David, did you work in there that Bennifer's fake? Like, did you? I feel like you threw that in there.
No, I did not mention Ben Affleck. It was all
I
A-Rod.
thought you were mentioning Ben and Jennifer.
No,
and their
A-Rod
relationship.
and
A-Rod.
J-Lo
Are you
was-
saying that was fake?
I'm saying that there was a business component to that.
They were trying to buy a team.
They were trying to There's business.
There's a business component to every relationship.
You mean like going on the other person's health insurance?
Yeah.
Getting a green card?
No.
Sometimes.
That's the thing.
Like
That's
me and
a
my
thing,
wife
right?
have a like we each make money and we have to decide what's happening with it. Like every relationship, there's financial.
I have a friend that got married as a business arrangement because of green card.
It's one of the great
illegal.
movies where they have to convince.
That's why I'm not saying his name.
What's the movie where they have to convince that it's an actual marriage? The Proposal with Ryan
Chuck
Reynolds
and Larry.
and
and Chuck and
Sandra
Larry.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
My mom's favorite movie, by the way.
Is the Proposal
Every time it's on cable, she'll sit down and watch it no matter what.
Your mom's top 5?
with Betty
I'll
White?
get back to you.
Betty
it
White is in that movie.
I know a lot of
Sensational in
people
that.
dating like people who are not U.S. citizens, and one of my friends actually told me that like on the third date, her boyfriend was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not doing this for a green card," and she was like, "I had no idea that was a thing."
Can you imagine? I think you lead with that. What are the top 5 things? I was thinking about this the other day that you have to lead with on a first date that are deal breakers. Like you don't want kids. That's something.
You don't
start
say
with
that on the
You don't
first
say
date.
that on the
So
first
that's not
date.
a first date. What about the fact that you only will marry someone who's Jewish? Is that a first date thing?
I feel like
Depends
you
on the
would-
time in
you
life.
would- yeah,
What about
you
if
would
you're a
need to tell
Trumper?
someone that if they weren't Jewish.
What about if you're a
I
Trumper?
Wait, so
suppose.
you're on a date with a non-Jew and you're saying that I'm only gonna marry
why-
you?
I'm
Why
not
would you-
here for
why
marriage.
would you be on the date?
I'm here for whatever we're going to do, hopefully tonight, but no marriage.
You're here for a one-nighter.
Solid opener.
So listen,
I'm just here for a good time.
I'm just here for a good time. What about if you're Trump? Don't you have to say that on a first date?
If you're
I
Donald
was
Trump,
Donald
you
no,
do
no,
have
not
to
if you
say
are
that on a
Trump.
first date.
I
You
feel
are
like
That
they
is
would know. They would
absolutely
know if you were
a
Trump.
non-starter. You have to tell me if you're Donald Trump on the
Tremendous
first
first
I
date.
think these are all things that come up when you are doing a first date. I really do. I think it's important if you're going to have a
I mean,
good
like if you
first date.
voted for Donald Trump, like you.
Yes.
So
if you're
Huge
very
first
conservative
date.
or the other side. If you're on either side of the horseshoe, I think it's something that you have to say in a first date.
I'm Donald Trump.
Hi. In case you didn't know. I think these are important things. What do you think Taylor Swift will talk about, like first date with Alonzo? Hey, do you
She's
like
like,
my
I
songs?
didn't vote for Trump, by the way.
She's like, how much do you make a year?
You don't give that away either.
It's
by
less
the
than
way.
me.
Yeah.
Do you know Jimmy Butler? One of my favorite things in the world is when owners of teams, when they're new and they try to come out and say it's all about fans and they're trying to build this relationship and build a relationship with supporters. We've got a major situation in sports, Stugotz. Major.
Okay.
Everyone's going bankrupt. Networks are going bankrupt. We're lucky to have jobs here. And right now, Bally's, which shows all these baseball teams and basketball teams, we've talked about it with Skipper. We've talked about it on Nothing Personal. They're going bankrupt. Just yesterday or this weekend, which was not in your observations, which I thought it could have been, is that the Phoenix Suns have taken their rights back. They're no longer on a regional sports network.
So they've taken their TV rights back.
Their TV rights are now owned again. And there's a guy named Matt Ishbia. Everyone is saying he paid $4 billion for the Phoenix Suns. Let me be clear. He did not. It valued the team at $4 billion. He did not write a $4 billion check to Sarver. We're good with that.
The reporting is saying that he wrote it.
The reporting is saying that he spent $4 billion on the Phoenix Suns.
And
not
you're
accurate.
saying no. Okay.
Not accurate.
All right.
Valued it, including the Mercury, etc. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that a new owner takes the rights back and says, I'm giving it to the people. Back on free TV. And when asked about it, he gave a quote. The number one quote you can give, we're not focusing on money. Oh, puts a tear in my eye. Thank you so much for focusing on me. He said, we're focused on winning, success, and taking care of fans.
David, these are things.
No, they're not. They're not.
No?
He
So
took
what's
it
the
back
argument?
because it's very simple. His network went bankrupt. They weren't getting the rights fees that they were expected to get in their pro formas. So he's doing what MLB's doing, taking the rights back and trying to cobble together streaming, free TV, whatever you can do in order to replace your rights fees. But instead, he's focused on lying to his fans by saying, we're not focusing on money. And he's lying.
Because there's not an owner who's not focused on
Every
making money.
owner, even Steve Cohen of your Mets or Woody Johnson of your Jets, there is a limit to how much they're going to lose. And there's a limit as to how much they're going to spend.
What would be the financial argument for putting it on free TV? Is there anything to increasing the fan base because more people have access to this? Is there any way
That's
to
what they
recoup some
say.
of that?
That's what they say.
That's what I've read, like some of the spin is.
That more people, it's great spin. More people now will have access. But it doesn't matter because what
Is
you
it
want.
spin or is it reality? I mean,
It doesn't
I
actually
mean, it's
matter.
irrefutable that more people will have access to
Agreed.
watching Suns games.
But people
now
don't
that
have
it's on
access to
free
the
TV.
Dodgers. But the Dodgers make all the money because all the subscribers,
right.
cable subscribers, pay even for stuff they don't watch.
Isn't that stuff that the Clippers did too? Steve Ballmer wants to do like Clipper Vision and have all these different broadcasts and stuff. Is that part of that plan?
They're all trying this because they're all trying to figure out what to do in this new world of TV. And all I wanted him to say is, it's a new world. We're going to try this. Advertising revenue does not replace subscription revenue. So it does not. So it's going to be years before you figure out how you can make as much money without taking it from people who don't want it. That's really the whole discussion. Who's getting access to our games who doesn't want it, and who's willing to pay for it who does?
But why can't this particular case why can't he be telling the truth? Where it's just like, hey, Bally's went under. We're going to put it on free TV because we want to expand the fan base and do something nice for fans.
Expand the fan base because they don't sell out, or expand the fan base for what particular reason?
Because more people have free TV than have, subscription-based TV. So this is a nice thing we're doing, A, for our fans, our current fans, right? You're now getting it for free. B, we hope to expand our fan base because that would be a natural thing to think if you're going to put it on free TV.
Yeah, so the reason he's doing that is he has nowhere else to do it. That's the only reason. It's not this great.
He had no other options.
Right. So
you believe he shopped it first.
You spin it, of course. It's absurd to think that his first choice was, I have the way to do this. We're going to do it on free TV, and we're going to lose all revenue related to TV.
But you got to be loving life if you're a Suns fan because this owner has been awesome so far. If you're a fan, especially compared to where you were with Robert Sarver.
I would be awesome compared to
But
Robert
no,
Sarver.
I've done some reporting on the acquisition of Kevin Durant. Like, that went owner to owner. He made that move, and he overpaid. Brooklyn actually did quite well. Brooklyn had a deal with Miami. Miami was feeling very good. Kevin Durant felt like he was going to Miami. And then your brand new owner steps up, does what he needs to do to get you that player to seize on this championship window, and then, whatever it may be, spin or what have you, you're now getting your Suns games on free TV, and you don't need a subscription. This is an amazing start in the eyes of the fan for this owner.
But I think David is saying is you could still be a good owner and go out and get Kevin Durant, but there's not a single owner in sports who is not trying to maximize their revenue.
I think
Period.
that should be clear.
Yes.
And new owner-itis is a thing that I like talking about.
They're not giving away stuff for free is what you're saying.
Zero. They don't get rich by doing that.
But
and
it's
new
why
owner-itis will cause you to overpay for Durant.
Okay.
That's new owner-itis.
No, I let's take your example, the Miami Marlins. It was such a golden opportunity that was wasted by Sherman and company because you were the boogeyman. You and Jeffrey Loria were the reason for all the problems, and that was the perception, and perception was reality.
Derek kept saying that too.
Yeah, but that was a perception amongst Marlins fans, and around Major League Baseball is like, get those guys out of there. It can only go up from here, and it hasn't. It's stalled, even though they made the playoffs. It hasn't gone the way that you would think it would.
David will scoff at this, but the farm system is much better now than it was.
But they haven't.
Not
increased.
But you dismissed that value before. Like
because
we've had
I don't
you
care.
Right.
I want to win at the major league level.
Right. But the point is that's a foundation that eventually, hopefully,
we're the hitters.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. but in terms of business, they haven't actually turned it around, right? Revenue's not where it needs to be. Sponsorship's not where it needs to be. TV deals not where it needs to be.
I'm trying to reach Skipper to see if we can possibly, in addition to getting tickets to games, I'd like to know if he wants to buy a major league franchise.
Why would he want to do that?
I'll throw down.
Why not? I think if we combined,
I got 5 on it.
If we combined everyone and stopped getting catered lunches, I believe
Whoa,
That's the
we have.
difference?
Catered lunches are very important around here.
Whoa. If they
Which
stop
team are we-
following your advice on how to expense their own personal trips to New York, then maybe we can afford it. That's far more expensive.
Which team are we buying if we give up these lunches?
We're deducting that. I want to buy the Marlins. I think we should buy the Marlins back.
No.
Baseball's dead.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great.
Let's get the Panthers.
If we can keep lunches,
They're on the way
I'll
up.
buy
The
the Marlins.
Panthers, yes.
But move them to Hamilton. It's
Ryan
much better
Reynolds
market.
is going to spend $1 billion to be an owner of the Ottawa
Can we buy the
Senators.
Ottawa Senators?
For we're competing against Deadpool.
And then we'll trade Kachuk to the Panthers.
Do you want to compete
What?
against
Brother
Ryan
Brady.
Reynolds to buy the Senators?
Well, we can join that ownership group. Ooh, can we be co-owners with Deadpool, please?
Now that would be something. They're
It looks
trying
so
to
fun
raise
to be-
money. They're
Yeah.
trying to raise capital.
Let's buy the Senators.
David, can you explain something to me? So you're telling me that the guy that bought the Suns didn't stroke a $4 billion check. So what did he do? He just like, hey, I got the Suns now.
The
So-
$4 billion is
He
the
valued it at
valuation
$4
of the
billion.
team.
So then what did he pay for it? Like what money exchanged hands?
You'd have to look at the purchase sale agreement. It's the same thing. Bruce Sherman didn't write a $1.2 billion check to Jeffrey Loria. There are minority partners, limited partners, not minority, limited
Son-in-laws?
partners. No. Although I don't know what was going on with Sarver. But at the end of the day, there's also debt on the team. So any debt on the Phoenix Suns gets subtracted from the $4 billion.
So he wrote like a $2 billion
It
check.
depends how much debt, but that would be my guess. Somewhere around 50%
$2 billion's a much better deal.
is generally the rule.
Better
Yeah.
check.
But
What's
you
what's
also
your
get
take
to
on the
say
Commanders
the
stuff?
valuation of $4 billion.
What is this going to be similar with the Commanders? That it's not actually going to be $6 billion?
So Daniel Snyder actually bought out his partners with that fight. I don't know if you remember, there was a huge lawsuit because they all limited partners wanted to get away from him. So he may own close to 100%. But there's also debt on the team. So Josh Harris and Rails. Do you know that Rails' father, Mitchell Rails' father, was an LP with the Marlins? A guy named Norman Rails. So I've known Norman.
I
and
knew
Why
Mitchell.
would I know that? Why would I know that?
Okay.
Okay. Wait, can we buy the Senators with Deadpool or not?
We can contact him and see if they're raising equity.
But using John Skipper as our sugar daddy.
He'd have to be.
Okay.
You'd have to ask him. I mean, we could do it with John. We could do it with Bimmel. We could do it with Dan.
Could we
See if Dan wants to buy it.
could we then move the
What about
Senators
me?
to Hamilton?
Chop liver? I mean,
You're spending all your money to get tickets to Knicks games.
you're right.
We can't have you investing in teams when all you care about is sitting courtside. Although if you own a team, you know you could sit courtside every day,
I would.
but you'd be
And,
giving up
and
the
wear
revenue.
binoculars.
I'd be the worst owner.
Ottawa too. It's kind of far.
You know why Mickey Arison sits at the table? He doesn't actually sit in a courtside seat.
You can see the game better.
No, because you sell the courtside seats.
You can charge people for them.
You're giving up revenue.
Is that why Cuban sits kind of in the back, like behind the basket?
By the way, his seat is not so great.
It's
if
pretty
you think
good
about
though.
where Cuban
sits like courtside under the basket, I thought.
Yeah, but he's back.
He's sort of back corner bench-like.
He's like near the bench.
Yeah, but he can
stand.
stand. But he stands all the time. at the
NBA
corner.
players get the worst seats. If you're on a team, have you seen where bench players sit at a game?
Yeah.
The seats are terrible.
They're courtside.
Like the 12th
No, but
guy
they're
on the
off-
bench, you're
they're
saying?
not courtside.
What are we talking about?
They're off the court.
I think functionality is the reason. Like, you're not going to put them in the 20th row at center court because it's hard to then sub them in.
Dwight, you're in.
It's
It did
totally
kind of do that
changed,
during
though.
COVID.
It's money,
Remember?
actually. Can we? I'm
stadium
calling back
seating.
to money.
You
The
got
reason
Dwight,
why
like,
the bench
going, like,
seats are
"Excuse me,
worse,
gotta
and
get
if you
5
go
here."
look at video
I would
of
like that-
Lakers Celtics,
I'd like it better if he had to run down 20 rows. Like,
Great.
Big announcement.
Cody Zeller's trying to come down like
He's taking all his clothes off while he's
Yeah,
running
the
get
down.
black
ready.
shoes. You're like, what is he doing?
Cody Zeller would totally trip over himself.
Where's my mask?
Where'd Zeller come from?
I don't know.
I like the idea of selling the bench seats for the players, and they have to just hang out in the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like, when you come in, like, just come through the
we're
tunnel.
getting there. We're getting there. Look at all the assistant coaches who are now second row behind the bench. That did not exist 30 years ago.
What do you mean?
There's too many
Keith
assistant
Askins was
coaches.
behind that Heat bench in the 90s. That has been around a long
if you-
time. Second row coaches.
If you've watched the NBA,
Just ask him.
it's very clear that the players have outgrown the playing surface, and the courtside seats are too close to the action. But they won't. The court needs to be bigger in the NBA, but they won't do that because all these arenas are configured to maximize every dollar from those courtside seats.
That's right.
That's David's point.
That's been the point the entire time.
You know what's worse when they have
They
them like
got
sunken in, like in the Final Four where you have like the players.
Oh, you can trip.
And they're looking over where the
I hate
court is.
that.
That's
That
the
always
worst.
looks cool.
No,
I thought that would
no.
be cool.
I was
to
really
see
watching
that.
Vanderbilt.
I don't like it.
flying
I don't like
over.
it.
Watching
Yeah.
the Commodores play basketball is just like awful.
That's how we got Coach Chair. Because then he had that, like, the
Yeah,
coaches
then he
have to have,
fell
like,
off.
their stool up there. So they
I
have
don't
to-
like the coach, like, on a perch over the players. I don't like the players having to walk up 4 steps to get into the game. I don't like any of it.
I
What
like
about
them
the
just
fans
stro-
who complain when the coach is standing in front of them?
Those are bad seats.
I
dude.
always wonder that.
Sitting behind the Heat bench is not a great
Like,
seat.
DJ Khaled's seats at Heat games is, like, always blocked by Spo.
Spoelstra is walking there the whole time.
He's a prowler.
And
Do you
so- and
Do
so
they
are
ever
his
say, like,
defensive-
hey, down, I paid a lot for these?
I'm going to say it tomorrow night at the Knicks game. Hey, where are we doing Masvidal? In there?